Absolutely, it's an end-to-end connector. But what about this one? A core connector for, let's say, locations. A core connector locations? Is it a generic end-to-end connector, or mostly? I mean, is it an end-to-end connector or a generic connector? It's a generic one. It says, core connector. So whenever we see core connectors, we know for sure that these are mostly the generic connectors. There's not anything specific. What about this one? E-verify. That's an end-to-end because it is for specific. E-verify employment verification background checks. E-verify. It is a specific end-to-end connector. So you see that there are different, the connects a higher inbound, connects a higher provisioning. It's specific for Connexa. Chronos LinkedIn reference. Although it's deprecated LinkedIn reference. Again, it is specific for a named third-party application or service. Okta Worker. It is for SSOs, for single sign-ons. So this is specific for the particular named third-party application or service. So this is already created for us. We don't have to worry too much about this. These are end-to-end connectors. Salesforce, Chatterwork, Sync. These are all end-to-end connectors. All done for us, right? So what we are going to do is, we're not going to use end-to-end connectors, because they are very simple and much simpler than our general connectors. So we are going to use core connector worker. What spelling am I writing? So core connector worker, right? I'll search with that. Core connector worker is the name of the template. Alright, I have to give a name. Just 1 second. Alright, let's give it a name, int www. And what is the template that we are using? Core connector worker. So we typically give it as CCW. So if we specify CCW, that means we know that this is going to be a core connector worker, right? Without even opening the integration, I can tell this is going to be a core connector worker. Alright, let me not use a hyphen, because we are using a space anyway. Int www.ccw, let's give a name, new hire or worker, new hires, or maybe new hires outbound, right? A core connector is outbound integration. It gets the information from Workday and sends it to an external system. So it's going to be a higher outbound kind of integration. So now let's click on OK. So any integration, any packaged integration, will show up like this. It will have a lot of integration services that we have to select. You have the option to enable all services, right? But we typically don't do that. Here there is a huge list of services, if you can see. Some of these services are marked as optional. Some are already enabled. Right. Some are already enabled. Okay. So what we can do is, if the ones which are already enabled, we don't have any option to disable that because these are required by the connector to work. Okay. These are absolutely required by the connector to work. Now the other ones, like effective stack performance law, DIS, data initialization, etc., etc., this will be enabled if you enable the data initialization service. If you do that and you click on that, then only it will be enabled, but not now. I am not doing the DIS as of now. The data initialization service. But now, if you look at the rest of it, there are some sections, some data section, like personal data section fields. Okay. Status, data section, worker position, data worker, contract data worker. Leave of absence, compensation, ID-related person. So it is not as simple and straightforward as selecting the fields in your report. These fields are grouped together into what we call as data sections. If you want those fields, you have to enable that data section. Let's look at our fields that we want one more time. So this first name, last name, gender, marriage status, they look to be personal data. Correct. They look like personal data. And even email address looks like personal data. Hire date may be personal data, or it may be more to do with the position of the worker. Business title may be related to the job or maybe with the position. Again, worker type annual base pay most likely relates to the compensation. Correct. So that is what we are going to select here. If you are not sure where these fields are going to be, especially if you are new to this, then it makes sense to select all the data sections right. Select all the data sections, not an issue. And then fine-tune it depending on where you actually see the information right. Let me just enable everything, and then what we are going to do is, we may OK. Let me click on OK for the time being. Let me click on OK, so it gives an error. There is an error at the top, while it is trying to save the integration. And what is it? I have not done anything wrong, but let's look at it. It says there are integration attributes enabled for this integration system that are marked as required for launch. Okay, but do not have a value assigned to them. So which one is it? Please use a related menu item, Integration System. Configure integration attributes to complete the configuration. So it means that some configuration is pending. And what configuration is that? Core Connector Worker Integration Configuration. The version right. It seems that this is a required field in the integration attributes right in integration attributes. It seems there is a required field. So where is the integration attributes? If you scroll down, you see there is a table which says integration attributes. Okay, and here is something that is marked as required for launch, but we have not entered any value for that. You see it? The version right. It also mentioned that the version was something that has to be mentioned. It controls the version of the output file, and do we have any value here as of now? We don't have any value. So that is why what day is not happy, it says you have to put some value here. And what is? How do I go there? It says there are integration attributes. You take the path. Integration system. Configure integration attributes to complete the configuration. So let's do it. Let's follow it. So related actions of the integration system. And then we go to integration system, configure integration attributes. Alright, so we will navigate down to the section which says required for launch right and we have to add a value. So just click on this, Add Row. And in the drop-down, choose which version you want. So we are going for the latest and the greatest, version 34. This is going to be the format of the output file and also the format of the core connector. So this is the version 34 of the core connector. You see, we don't have a version for each and everything, 2021, 22, 22, 24, 25, but then straight away, a giant leap right to 34. So let's use that 34 click. OK. Let's see if it changes anything, right? The error is gone. The error is now gone. But have we selected any fields yet? Which field do we want? These are the fields correct. So we have to choose these fields as well. So how to do that? We go to the related actions. Integration system. And configure integration field attributes. We will follow this one by one. Configure integration attributes, field overrides, maps notification services, etc. We will follow this one by one. So first we have done configure integration attributes. Then we will go to configure integration field attributes. Let's click on that. Alright,